You can kind of feel this one. Yeah,
I feel it.
Are you starting?
I feel it.
If I start to sweat a little bit, I know I'm really feeling it.
Hello. I am David Wilson, chair of the Tulsa Young Democrats, with the nominee for the 1st Congressional District of Oklahoma for U.S. House, Dennis Baker.
Hello, David. Thank you for inviting me here, I think, for this test. And I understand you're going to ask me some questions, and we're going to taste some hot sauce.
Yes, the second episode of Hot Dems. The first sauce featured is Yellow Bird Blue Agave Sriracha.
Sounds pretty hot. Delicious.
Not bad. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why you were running.
So as you said, I'm Dennis Baker, running for Congress, 1st Congressional District. I've got my campaign yard signs propped up behind us. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about some of the main themes of our campaign and how we have approached some of the issues. We generally have been approaching these issues from like a kitchen table perspective. And when I talk to voters and when I make my campaign pitches, I envision a family sitting down at a kitchen table and they're trying to figure out their bills and they're trying to figure out how they're going to finance all their needs. And so I start talking about those concerns. And so that leads me into talking about jobs. It leads me into talking about education, affordable education, good education. And then it leads me into talking a little bit about healthcare and medical bills. And really just when I think about it, I think about all the issues that my family, me and my wife Wanda, we faced raising our kids here in Tulsa. Both of us working at the Tulsa Police Department. We both had a job and then basically living from paycheck to paycheck.
So the second sauce featured is the Hot Ones Buffalo Hot Sauce.
Buffalo hot sauce is standard, very standard. Number 2. Okay.
So what are the top 3 issues you would like to address when you were elected?
So I had some broad issues. So the broad issues I always talk about are jobs, education, and healthcare. But there are some subsets of that and particular bills that I support that are part of that. So I always talk about jobs and I talk about wages and raising the minimum wage. So federally, I support raising the minimum wage. And I know we have a petition that's going around in Oklahoma that I really support, the Raise the Wage petition. It's important that, Oklahoma has not raised the minimum wage. Nationally hasn't been raised since 2009. That's about 15 years. And in those 15 years, the cost of living, I can guarantee, has gone up. So it's about time to raise that. So I want it on the ballot. But in any event, we win back Congress, a Democratic Congress, then that is something I'm going to pursue. The other thing I talk about a lot is education, affordable education, and fully funding our public schools. I think it's important. It's one of those kitchen table issues that all parents talk about. They want good quality education for their kids, good public school education. And so I support fully funding those schools, keeping that money, public school money in public schools, and not vouchering it out to private schools. And I think teachers should be fully paid. And I think that Republicans and MAGA Republicans should stop attacking teachers and stop attacking teachers' unions. I fully support unions, and federally at the federal level, I support the PRO Act, which is the most sweeping in a generation pro-union act. So it's protecting the right to organize. As you know, David, over the last 20 to 30 years, our unions have been weeded back. It's one of the reasons our middle class has declined. I support that. Oklahoma's a right to work state, and don't mistake it for something that's pro-labor when you say you're a right to work state. You're an anti-union state. And then healthcare and access to healthcare, we have to fight for that. It's a big issue for families. Having affordable healthcare. Oklahoma is among the last in a lot of metrics, and one of those metrics is actually among the last, at least the bottom 10 in access to healthcare. And I'm hoping I'm not going to need any of that access during this demonstration. So far, so good.
So far, so good. So number 3 is the garlic del Fuego.
Okay. Garlic
Del Fuego.
Okay. Is that something for fire? Not too bad. Very tasty.
So on your website, you talked about having a high-speed passenger rail between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you plan to advocate for this during your time in Congress.
Yeah, that's huge for me, and it's not something new. It's been talked about for at least 20 years, having high-speed rail. It's something that no one has ever followed through on, at least our political class that we have. But you do have to understand that since 2011, we have been like a trifecta of Republicans that kind of run the state of Oklahoma. But there is a bill, the infrastructure bill that was passed by Democrats in Congress, signed by President Biden, that has put millions of dollars into infrastructure, investing in the infrastructure in a lot of communities. I know California is building a high-speed rail to connect San Francisco and Los Angeles. So building high-speed rail and building out your infrastructure, there's money on the table for that. It's like 100 miles between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. You think of the opportunities that building that rail would open economically for both cities. And then I see a vision, at least our campaign sees a vision of making an economic hub centered around Tulsa. We have the Tulsa port here, and we are in the center. We have, Little Rock, we have Arkansas, we have Kansas City, we have St. Louis. We have a hub here, and I would love to have a caucus in Congress that says we're going to work together and we're going to build out the economic development in the heartland. And I'm looking at not just next election, 2 years down the road. I'm looking 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, but we invest, and we're not doing it. We're not doing it. And so this campaign is not, when you think of Oklahoma Democrats, I want people to think of economic development and opportunity and a vision for moving Oklahoma forward instead of taking us backwards.
Number 4 is extreme habanero.
Oh, that sounds. Make
that skip over.
Yeah. This is. Interesting. That one has a little bit of bite to it.
That one did.
I have to say, what do you think?
It had bite. It had a bite.
Maybe a little bit of a kick. A little kick to it.
So in the recent primary election, in which you won, only about 11% of all registered Democrats in CD1 turned out to vote. What is your plan to increase voter turnout amongst Democrats for the November election and in future elections?
Yeah, I wish, David, I had like a secret formula or a secret plan to prevent or to deter voter apathy. We need every Democrat to turn out for every election, and our campaign is looking to turn out every Democrat. We're looking to turn out every voter, really, that looks at our policies, looks at where we stand, that can take time to actually see the direction that our campaign wants to take Oklahoma and say that's the direction we should be going. So we're not taking Oklahoma in any radical direction. We're actually taking Oklahoma in a direction that it needs to go. So I don't think we talk about real Oklahoma values that this campaign and that I want to bring to Washington, D.C. And I want to steer us away from the radical policies of, the MAGA Republicans. And a lot of the things that I say a lot is that Oklahoma is not going to move forward until we leave MAGA behind. And so my opponent is one of the biggest MAGAs in Oklahoma. He's actually one of the biggest MAGAs in America. Big supporter of Trump. I think the biggest way to engage voters is to get people to know what this campaign is about, to get people to look beyond party labels and look at which candidates are actually talking about issues and wanting to address issues and solve problems, and which are wanting to just stir up trouble. But we need every Democrat, we need every like-minded independent, every Republican that wants their party back to get involved and start pushing Oklahoma in the right direction and move beyond the divisiveness that we see every day currently in Congress because of this movement, this MAGA movement. I don't think I answered that very well because it's really it's more it's voter engagement. We're going to engage a lot of just door knocking, engaging people one-on-one. We think our message is strong, and the biggest thing we want to do is just get it out there.
I'm not ready for this last one. It's peach ghost pepper.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's got a good, like a little flavor there, almost like a little,
Like a sweet.
yeah, like a little cherry flavor, and then it gets burning hot. I think it's really hot. If I start to sweat a little bit, I know I'm really feeling it. But I gotta try a little bit more to see if this. So if you really love sauce, and this is a good one to start with. You can just jump in and get the full impact.
So
Should save the best for last, David. I see.
yes, and to have a little fun here with this last question. If you were to describe Kevin Hearn's tenure in Congress using only one movie, what would it be and why?
Only one movie as a tenure in Congress. Wow, that's a tough one. So when I think, if you would have put my opponent Kevin Hearn, and a movie that springs to mind, and maybe not so much the subject matter, but the title. It's Star Trek Into Darkness. Because that's where I think he's taking Oklahoma. I think that's where he's taking our country. He's part of the MAGA movement. And I think they have gone as far right and have been as dysfunctional. And I see them taking our country into darkness. And so our campaign is the exact opposite of that. I want to lead us into the future, into a better future. And I firmly believe that, it is time. The cycle is here. That's where we're going to move. That's where we have to move. We're going to have a new era in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is going to build, and we're going to grow. We have a bright future ahead of us. We have to choose it. We have to choose it, and we have to fight for it. It's not going to be given to us. And I can guarantee that the MAGA Republicans are going to fight every step of the way to stay in office. And we have to fight every step of the way if we want to have a better future. And that's what this, ultimately for me, what politics is about and what this office should be about is making people's lives better. And I know that we have to fight for that. And I can tell that to voters out there, to Oklahomans, if you want a future, it's not going to be handed to you. If you want a good future, bright future, if you want economic policies in place that make your lives better, you have to fight for it. And the best way to fight for it is to become engaged, look at the candidates, look at the policies, and November 5th, go vote your values.
Well, Dennis, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time out of your busy schedule to probably burn your mouth, burn your taste buds, or your lips off. So thank you for joining us on the second episode of Hot Dems. And remember, November 5th is the general election to elect Dennis Baker to U.S. Congress.